For the protesters, the Democratic Convention of 1968 was a chance for their voices to be heard. With frustrations building up, especially because of Vietnam's failure to progress, people began to take action and show their frustrations through protests and riots. Many protesters were at the Democratic Convention of 1968 because they wanted their voices to be heard. But being fired up teenagers, many of them were also there for the thrill of it. As more and more people flooded the streets of Chicago, the amount of tension between people and police grew as well. Many protesters believed that the police stepped over the line completely. Here is what one protester had to say about the incident.
How old were you at the time?
I was just before my 18th birthday. I was 17.
Now, did you have a group of people to go with you, or did you go alone?
No, I went with a group. I actually went because I was working for a presidential candidate named Eugene McCarthy. And I went in a group from St. Louis, where I went to high school, to Chicago and on a bus. So I had friends, but we all got separated after a day or so.
Did you guys take any weapons with you?
Oh, no. Oh gosh, no. This was such a different day, you don't understand. No. Our weapon was to be on the street. That's it. And we believed then that if people got out on the street to say what was on their mind, the government would listen. It never occurred to us to bring weapons. We didn't have any weapons to bring, and that would never have crossed anybody's mind, seriously, really.
What were you protesting?
The war in Vietnam, inequality among Latinos, black people, more equality for young people. Our biggest issue was the war in Vietnam.
Did you guys know that you didn't have a permit?
Oh yes, yeah. We knew we didn't have a permit, and we knew that we believed at the time that was a bogus kind of situation in order to keep us out. It is true that you must have a permit to have a demonstration in the park, but the city had been very lax in enforcing that. That just hadn't been a big deal until we turned up, and then all of a sudden it was a big deal.
So were you guys expecting trouble?
We were expecting a confrontation. We expected nothing like what we got. We expected that there would be lots of young people. We expected that the Chicago Police Department would be out there, but we didn't expect what happened. Nobody was prepared for what happened.
Sorry, go ahead.
So do you want me to describe what happened?
Yeah, can you describe one of the worst days and what you saw, please?
Yeah, I was there for the whole Democratic Convention, and I realized pretty quickly that the city did not want demonstrators of any kind. It wasn't just young people, and it's important to understand that. There were a lot of people who came out as part of this who were in their 40s and 50s and 60s and older, and who wanted to say something about the war in Vietnam to all these assembled politicians, and who wanted to say, this convention doesn't represent us. You don't even talk to regular people. The war machine keeps grinding on. Does this sound familiar?
Yeah.
Like the war in Iraq.
Yeah.
And by the end of day one, all of us began to realize the city was quite serious in not only making sure nobody hurt us, but in hurting as many people as they could to get us to leave. It became pretty clear that Mayor Daley had a very organized police force, and he was going to use it against demonstrators who had no weapons of any kind, no ammunition. Eventually, we started picking up rocks. There are a lot of those. The worst day that I saw was probably the third day of the convention. This was on national television. It was a big demonstration in the evening in Grant Park. If you've ever been downtown, Grant Park is huge. And the police started preparing themselves. We could see them preparing themselves with riot gear, extra squad cars. They brought in horses and motorcycles. We watched this starting early in the afternoon. We were determined to stick together, not to be turned back. Everybody linked arms. And the police just kind of pushed into the middle. And it was like a crowd pushing one way and the police pushing the other. And they started using their weapons right away. They all had clubs, and they pulled them out and started beating everybody in sight. I got a real nice gash on the top of my head. I have a scar to this day. There's a place where hair doesn't grow here. I'm proud of it. They had tear gas. We'd never seen tear gas before, and if you've never experienced it, it's really horrible. You get really, really, really sick. You start throwing up. You can't see anything. Some people had terrible allergic reactions, passed out, couldn't breathe. The police just kept pushing in, and they would pick up anybody they found and start beating. They fired bullets. We didn't realize at the time that they were blanks. We thought they were for real. Drove their motorcycles and cars into the crowd. The viciousness of the police force was something I just could, to this day, almost 43 years later, it's still really vivid in my mind. I had never seen anything like that in my life. And I realized then there was no turning back. Pick a side. And I decided I'm staying. Now, my parents had no idea where I was. They knew I'd gone to the convention, but this was before cell phones, we didn't have anything like it. It had been invented. They watched all this on television many miles away, freaking out. I couldn't get to a phone. You had to go to a pay phone. You had to have change. You had to find a phone. I didn't call them for almost 5 days. They didn't know if I was dead. They didn't know what was going on. You mean picking up a rock to fight a gun?